March 2023. Somewhere in eastern Ukraine, a column of Russian T-72 tanks rolls through the dawn mist, 12 vehicles in formation, each one a 41-ton fortress of steel carrying 3 soldiers inside. The crews don't hear them coming. No roar of jet engines, no whistle of artillery shells, just a faint buzzing, like insects in the distance. Within 7 minutes, 11 of those 12 tanks would be destroyed, not by another tank, not by an attack helicopter, not by a multi-million-dollar missile system, by drones, small, cheap, and devastatingly effective. What happened in those 7 minutes represents something far bigger than one battle. It represents the end of warfare as we've known it for the past century, and the terrifying birth of something new. This is the story of how modern technology turned the armored battlefield into a killing ground, how soldiers armed with controllers and screens became the most lethal hunters on Earth, and how a 500 commercial drone became more feared than a fighter jet. This is the story of the day drones ended tank warfare. To understand why what happened to that Russian tank column matters, we need to understand what tanks have meant to warfare for over a century. September 15, 1916, the Battle of the Somme. British forces unleashed a new weapon that would change war forever: the tank. It was slow, unreliable, and broke down constantly, but it could do something no soldier could: cross no man's land under machine gun fire and survive. For the next 100 years, the tank ruled the battlefield. In World War I, German panzers sliced through Europe. Soviet T-34s crushed the Wehrmacht at Kursk. American Shermans stormed across France. The tank became the symbol of military might itself. Even into the 21st century, tanks remain the backbone of ground warfare. During the 1991 Gulf War, American M1 Abrams tanks destroyed Iraqi armor at ranges beyond what the enemy could even see kills at 2,000 meters in pitch darkness using thermal optics. The tanks seemed invincible. Every military doctrine on Earth revolved around armor. Billions were spent on making them faster, deadlier, better protected. Russia inherited the Soviet Union's massive armored force, over 12,000 tanks on paper. The T-72, first built in 1973, became the workhorse. Later models like the T-90 and the new T-14 Armata were meant to keep Russia as an armored superpower. But something was changing, something the generals didn't see coming. The technology that would kill the tank wasn't born in a weapons laboratory. It was born in Shenzhen, China, in factories making consumer electronics. By the 2010s, commercial drone technology had exploded. G-Phantoms, quadcopters with 4K cameras, GPS guidance, and smartphone control, all for under $1,000. Suddenly, anyone could have their own eye in the sky. Military planners noticed. Small drones were already being used in Iraq and Afghanistan for reconnaissance, but they were seen as intelligence tools, not weapons. Then came the Azerbaijan-Armenia War of 2020, a preview of what was to come. Azerbaijan used Turkish TB2 drones to systematically destroy Armenian tanks, artillery, and air defenses. The Armenians, relying on Soviet-era doctrine, were massacred. Their tanks became burning wrecks, hit from above before they even knew they were being watched. The lesson was clear: the era of armored dominance was ending. But the world wasn't paying attention. Russia certainly wasn't. February 24, 2022. Russia invades Ukraine with overwhelming force, tanks, artillery, thousands of vehicles rolling across the border in multiple directions. The initial strategy was classic Soviet doctrine: fast-moving armored columns, seize key cities, overwhelm the enemy with mass and speed. The Kyiv convoy, a 40-mile-long column of vehicles, including hundreds of tanks, became the symbol of Russian power. Western analysts predicted Ukraine would fall in days, but something unexpected happened. Ukrainian forces, armed with Turkish drones, American Javelin missiles, and increasingly their own improvised drone units, began picking apart the columns. Tanks that had seemed invincible found themselves vulnerable from above the one angle their armor wasn't designed to protect. And then Ukrainian ingenuity took it to the next level. If expensive military drones could kill tanks, what about cheap commercial drones carrying grenades? The answer would reshape warfare forever. Let me take you inside the moment, inside what actually happened to that Russian tank column. It's March 22-3. The location is classified, but it's somewhere in the Donetsk region, eastern Ukraine. Russian forces are attempting to reinforce positions near Bakhmut, one of the war's bloodiest battlegrounds. A mechanized company, 12 T-72 tanks, several BMP infantry fighting vehicles, and support trucks moves along a rural road at dawn. Standard column formation. They've done this 100 times. What they don't know is that they've been watched for hours. 8 kilometers away, a Ukrainian drone unit call sign, Raven, has been tracking them using small reconnaissance drones. These aren't million-dollar military systems. They're modified D-Mavic 3 drones, commercial equipment anyone can buy online. The reconnaissance drones send back live video. The Raven unit commander studies his laptop screen. The column is moving into a kill zone, a stretch of road flanked by tree lines, limited maneuver space. He makes the call, launch strike package, all units. What happens next is a type of attack that didn't exist 5 years ago. From 3 different locations, Ukrainian operators launch what they call a drone swarm, not truly autonomous, but a coordinated mass attack using multiple small drones carrying explosives. Some are racing drones fast, agile quadcopters modified to carry RPB warheads or anti-tank grenades. Others are slower commercial drones carrying heavier payload Soviet-era Rady-3 anti-tank grenades, VOG-17 grenade launcher rounds, even modified artillery submunitions. Each drone costs between $500 and $1. Each tank, their targeting costs over $2 million. Each tank, their targeting costs over $2 million. And wait, but the economics of this battle are insane, and they're about to get worse for Russia. 6:47 a.m. the first drone arrives. The Russian crews hear a buzzing sound, some look up. One soldier spots a small black quadcopter descending at high speed. Before he can shout a warning, it drops its payload. The grenade hits the top of the lead T-72, precisely where the armor is thinnest, only 40-50 millimeter compared to 2,000 millimeters at the front. Boom. The explosion alone might not penetrate, but these aren't random hits. Ukrainian operators have studied Soviet tank design for decades. They know every weakness. The grenade strikes near the turret ring or the engine deck or the ammunition carousel access hatch, places where even a small explosion can cause catastrophic damage. The first tank shudders. Black smoke pours from the engine compartment. Then more drones arrive, a second, a third, a fourth. The Russian column panics. Tank commanders scream orders. Some tanks try to reverse. Others break formation, attempting to scatter. Infantry dismount, firing X-74 rifles into the air, a desperate, futile attempt to shoot down drones moving at 50 miles per hour. It doesn't work. Soviet-era tanks have a fatal design flaw that Western tanks largely avoided. Their ammunition is stored in a carousel beneath the turret, not in a separate compartment. When that ammunition is hit, the entire tank becomes a bomb. At 6:49 a.m., the second tank explodes, not just a fire, a detonation. The turret, weighing several tons, is blown 30 feet into the air by the force of its own ammunition cooking off. This is what tank crews call catastrophic kill, no survivors. The attack continues for 7 minutes, that's all it takes. The drones come in waves. Some are shot down by desperate rifle fire. Some malfunction, but enough get through. By 6:04 a.m., 11 of the 12 tanks are either destroyed or disabled. Burning wrecks line the road. Secondary explosions continue as ammunition cooks off. The surviving tank, the only one to escape, abandons the column, crashing through a fence and fleeing across an open field. The Ukrainian drone operators watch on their screens, mission complete. Total cost to Ukraine, approximately $15,000 in drones and munitions, including losses. Total cost to Russia, roughly $25 million in destroyed vehicles, plus the lives of 30 pre-trained tank crew members who take years to replace. This wasn't an isolated incident, it's happening dozens of times per week. In the first 18 months of the war, Russia lost over 500 tanks visually confirmed by open source intelligence. A significant percentage to drones. Ukrainian forces have industrialized drone warfare. They have drone schools training hundreds of operators. They have workshops converting commercial drones into weapons. They have an entire ecosystem built around this new form of combat, and it's not just Ukraine. Both sides now use drones this way. Russian forces adapted quickly, launching their own drone campaigns. The result? The most documented war in history, where every tank death is filmed from multiple angles and posted online within hours. But beyond the immediate tactical victories, something deeper has changed. The fundamental assumptions of armored warfare, mobility, protection, firepower have been shattered. A weapon system that dominated for a century is now vulnerable to technology available at your local electronics store. The destruction of that Russian tank column and thousands of similar incidents across Ukraine has sent shockwaves through every military on Earth. Because if drones can kill tanks this easily, what else can they kill? Let's start with what this means for tank warfare itself. For a century, tanks were designed to fight other tanks. Their armor is thickest at the front, 200 to 300 millimeters of composite armor, reactive tiles, even active protection systems on modern vehicles. But the top, the roof of the turret, the engine deck, 40 to 80 millimeters, barely enough to stop heavy machine gun fire, let alone an anti-tank warhead dropping from directly above. Why? Because for most of tank history, threats came from the ground level. Enemy tanks, anti-tank guns, infantry with rocket launchers, all firing horizontally or at slight angles. Air attack was a concern, but that meant fighter jets or attack helicopters using expensive missiles threats that could be managed with air defenses and air superiority. Nobody designed tanks to fight swarms of 500 drones. It's an asymmetry that can't easily be fixed. You can't add 2,000 millimeter of armor to the top of a tank. It would make the vehicle too heavy, too slow, unable to cross bridges or navigate terrain. Some have tried active protection systems, automated countermeasures that detect and shoot down incoming projectiles. The Israeli Trophy System, Russian Shtora, American Iron Fist, they work against missiles and rockets, but drones, especially small, slow-moving drones dropping grenades, the sensors often can't distinguish them from birds or debris, and even if they could, there are too many. A tank might carry 5-10 active protection interceptors. A drone swarm might involve 20-30 drones. Basic math says the tank loses. The US military is watching closely, very closely. The United States has approximately 6,000 Abrams tanks. They're better than Russian T-72 superior armor, better optics, stronger engines, separated ammunition storage that prevents catastrophic kills. But they're still vulnerable from above. In 2023, the US Army established the Counter Small Unmanned Aircraft Systems Office. Their job: figure out how to protect ground forces from drones. The solutions being tested range from practical to science fiction, soft kill systems, electronic warfare that jams drone signals, GPS, and communications. Problem: commercial drones can operate autonomously, following pre-programmed routes with no signal. Hard kill systems, lasers, microwave weapons, shotgun-like systems, firing nets, or projectiles. Problem: you need one on every vehicle, adding weight, cost, and complexity. Counter-drone drones, using friendly drones to intercept enemy drones. Problem: you're still spending dollars to stop a 5,500 threat, and the enemy can always send more. Enhanced awareness, better sensors, better training, faster reaction times. Problem: if you can see the drone, it's often already too late. The uncomfortable truth emerging from Ukraine is that there might not be a good solution, not one that's affordable, scalable, and reliable. And it's not just tanks. Drones are killing everything. Artillery pieces hiding in tree lines found and destroyed. Supply trucks moving at night tracked and hit. Infantry in trenches bombed with grenades. Command posts miles behind the front struck with one-way kamikaze drones. The transparent battlefield has arrived. Everything that moves, everything that emits heat or electromagnetic signals can be found. And once found, it can be killed. This is forcing a complete rethinking of military doctrine. At the US Army War College, at NATO headquarters in Brussels, at the Pentagon, the same conversations are happening. How do we fight a war where everything is visible? Some of the emerging answers: dispersion, don't concentrate forces. Small, scattered units are harder to target than large formations. Deception, decoys, dummy vehicles, electronic spoofing. Make the enemy waste drones on fake targets. Speed, move fast, stay mobile, never remain in one place long. Camouflage 2.0, not just visual concealment, but thermal, acoustic, and electromagnetic camouflage. Going underground, more tunnels, bunkers, underground logistics. If you can't hide above ground, hide below it. But all of these solutions are expensive, time-consuming, and limit operational flexibility. There's another darker implication: wars might become more destructive, not less. Here's the logic: if you can't safely mass forces in the open, you're forced into cities and fortified positions. Urban warfare is already the most destructive form of combat. High civilian casualties, massive infrastructure damage. Drones make urban warfare even more important. Buildings provide cover from aerial observation. Cities become fortresses by necessity. The result? More fighting in cities, more destruction, more civilian suffering. Ukraine is showing us this reality in real time. Cities like Mariupol, Bakhmut, Avdiivka reduced to rubble after months of fighting, and this is with drones that are still relatively primitive. What happens when artificial intelligence enters the picture? Right now, every drone in Ukraine is controlled by a human operator, someone looking at a screen, making decisions, guiding the drone to its target. But AI-powered drones are already in development, systems that can identify, track, and engage targets without human input. The US military calls them loitering munitions or autonomous weapons systems. The public calls them killer robots. Imagine a scenario: a swarm of 1,000 AI-guided drones is released near a battlefield. They're programmed to hunt specific signatures, thermal profiles of tanks, acoustic signatures of vehicles, electromagnetic emissions from radios. They spread out, search autonomously, and attack anything matching their programming. No human operator needed, no data link to jam. This technology exists today. It's being refined in labs and testing grounds around the world. The ethical questions are enormous. Should machines have the authority to kill humans without direct human oversight? What if the eye makes a mistake attacking civilians, friendly forces, or misidentifying targets? What about accountability? If an eye commits a war crime, who's responsible? In 2021, the United Nations held discussions on banning autonomous weapons. They went nowhere. No major military power wants to give up this capability, because the terrifying truth is, in future wars, the side without eye-powered drones might simply lose. And it's not just a hypothetical future concern. Every military on Earth is studying what's happening in Ukraine and adapting. China is watching closely. In any conflict over Taiwan, drone warfare would be central. Chinese forces could use thousands of drones to attack Taiwanese defenses, American carrier groups, Japanese bases. Iran is already exporting drone technology to proxy forces across the Middle East. Houthi rebels in Yemen use Iranian drones to attack Saudi oil facilities and ships in the Red Sea. North Korea has developed its own drone programs, crude but effective enough to threaten South Korean and American positions along the DMZ. Even non-state actors, terrorist groups, insurgents, cartels are adopting this technology. ISIS used commercial drones to drop grenades on Iraqi forces as early as 2016. The global proliferation of drone warfare is accelerating. And unlike nuclear weapons, there's no way to put this genie back in the bottle. You can't ban drones. You can't prevent people from learning to code autonomous flight paths. You can't stop the spread of technology that's already commercially available. The defense industry is responding the only way it knows how. More weapons, more countermeasures, more technology. Global military spending on counter-drone systems is expected to exceed dollars annually by 2030. Companies like Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and Lockheed Martin are developing everything from laser weapons to A-powered counter-drone systems. Israel, which faces constant drone threats from Hezbollah and Hamas, has become a leader in counter-drone technology. But it's an arms race with no finish line. Every defense spawns a new offense. Every countermeasure creates demand for countermeasures. And meanwhile, in Ukraine, the war continues. By late 2024 and into 2025, both sides have adapted dramatically. Russia has scaled up its own drone production, partnering with Iran to build attack drones by the thousands. Ukraine continues innovating longer-range strike drones hitting targets deep in Russian territory. Naval drones attacking Russian ships, even experimental jet-powered kamikaze drones. The war has become a laboratory for future conflict. Every day brings new tactics, new technologies, new horrors, and the world is watching, learning, and preparing for the next war, where what happened to that Russian tank column won't be an exception. It will be standard operating procedure. Let's return to where we started. That Russian tank column, destroyed in 7 minutes by devices small enough to fit in a backpack. The soldiers who died in those tanks believed they were protected. They had faith in steel, in armor, in the doctrine that had kept tank crews relatively safe for decades. That faith was misplaced, not because they did anything wrong, but because the fundamental nature of warfare had changed beneath them. This isn't the first time this has happened in military history. In World War I, cavalry, the elite of European armies, for centuries charged into machine gun fire. Thousands died in minutes, their noble traditions and centuries of tactical doctrine rendered obsolete by a new technology they didn't understand. In World War II, battleships, floating fortresses that had ruled the seas, were sunk by carrier-based aircraft they could barely defend against. The era of the battleship ended at Pearl Harbor, Midway, and the sinking of ships like the Yamato. Medieval castles, impregnable for centuries, became death traps when cannons arrived. History is full of moments when the old way of war dies and something new is born. It's usually painful. It's always costly, and it's never fair to those who train their entire lives for the old way. The tank crews who died in Ukraine weren't obsolete soldiers. They were professionals caught in the crossfire of technological change. But make no mistake, we're witnessing a revolution. Here's what makes this revolution different from past military transformations. It's asymmetric. A poor nation can field drone swarms that threaten a superpower's tanks. It's accessible. The technology isn't exotic or expensive. It's built in the same factories making your smartphone. It's dual use. Drones that deliver packages can be weaponized in hours. It's autonomous. Unlike tanks or jets that need trained crews, drones can eventually operate themselves. It's scalable. You can build 1,000 drones for less than the cost of one tank. These factors combine to create something unprecedented, a weapons revolution that's democratic, distributed, and impossible to control. And it's not just about tanks. Think about what a world full of cheap, lethal drones means for society, terrorism. A terrorist doesn't need to smuggle bombs onto planes anymore. A drone can attack aircraft, infrastructure, or crowds from miles away. Assassination, political leaders, once protected by armor and bodyguards, become vulnerable to aerial attack anywhere outdoors. civil conflict, in any uprising, protest, or civil war, drones become the great equalizer between government forces and rebels. Privacy and surveillance, everyone can be watched, tracked, followed by governments, corporations, or individuals. Infrastructure vulnerability, power grids, water treatment plants, telecommunications hubs all exposed to aerial attack by actors who previously couldn't threaten them. We're entering an era where the monopoly on violence, the state's ability to control force within its borders, is weakening. That has profound implications, and not all of them are bad. Drones have also become tools of accountability. Journalists use them to document war crimes, environmental destruction, human rights abuses. Citizens use them to monitor police actions, verify government claims, and hold power accountable. The same technology that enables violence enables transparency. The balance is delicate, and right now the violent applications are advancing faster than society's ability to cope with them. So what do we do? Some argue for regulation, international treaties limiting drone warfare, similar to chemical weapons bans or landmine conventions. The problem? These require enforcement, and enforcement requires cooperation from nations that see drones as strategic advantages they won't give up. Others argue for technical solutions, better detection, better countermeasures, better defenses. The problem: offense is cheaper than defense, and attackers only need to succeed once, while defenders must succeed every time. Still others argue we need to fundamentally reimagine what security means in the drone age, accepting that perfect protection is impossible, and focusing instead on resilience, decentralization, and adaptation. This might be the most realistic path, but it requires changing how we think about military power, national security, and safety itself. Behind all these strategic considerations are human beings. The Ukrainian drone operator who destroyed that tank column, let's call him Andriy, was a software engineer before the war. He learned to fly drones filming his daughter's soccer games. Now he kills people, professionally, efficiently, from miles away, watching on a screen as men burn to death inside machines. He doesn't enjoy it, but he believes it's necessary to defend his country, his family, his home. The Russian tank commander who died, let's call him Dmitry, was a 23-year-old conscript from Siberia. He didn't choose to invade Ukraine. He was following orders, serving his country as he understood it. He died terrified, trapped in a burning metal box, probably never understanding what hit him. Both of these men are products of a world where technological change outpaces human wisdom, where wars start for political reasons but are fought with weapons that reduce human beings to thermal signatures on a screen. In the end, every military revolution comes down to this: new ways to kill each other, new ways to die. We can marvel at the technology, the precision, the efficiency, the innovation, but we should never forget the cost. Over 100,000 soldiers have died in the Ukraine war so far. Thousands of tanks destroyed, millions displaced, cities erased, and it continues. Every day drones take off. Every day someone watches a screen and decides that thermal signature is an enemy worth killing. Every day the battlefield of tomorrow is being written in blood today. But here's what I want to leave you with. Technology changes. Tactics evolve. Weapons advance. What doesn't change is the human capacity for both destruction and creation, for both violence and compassion. The same species that invented the tank also invented the Red Cross. The same minds that design weapons also work for peace. The drone revolution is here. We can't uninvent it. We can't ignore it. But we can choose how we respond to it with wisdom, with caution, with an understanding that every new way to kill also demands a new commitment to preserve life. That Russian tank column, destroyed in 7 minutes, is a warning and a lesson. A warning that the old rules no longer apply. And a lesson that in war, technological superiority is temporary, but human suffering is universal. The drones are flying. They're not going away. The question is, what world will they build? That answer is still being written.